Hello, lovely, and welcome to the Essence of Expression podcast. Get ready to explore insights, lessons, practices, and wisdom from life for life. I'm your host, Arejay, healer, teacher, student, and sage. I'm excited and honored to have you with me on this journey. Let's dive in. I wanted to share a question that I received in one of the groups that I'm in, and this person was basically asking, what's the process for activating crystal energy? And then they went on to ask what it should look like and what it should feel like. So to be honest, the process is going to vary because it's going to kind of depend on how you're working with crystals, right? There are a bunch of different processes that you can go through. There are a bunch of different ways to work with crystals. And so like if you're going to be programming a single crystal is going to be different from, you activating a grid of crystals, because you're going to need to connect the energy of each of the separate crystals into that grid in order to activate the full grid. But a few of the ways that you can go about activating would be through intention, through breath, through sound, Reiki. There are probably a plethora of other ways that you can go about activating it. But if you're using intention for activation, then normally it's going to be, you're going to probably take the single crystal. Usually it's holding it like over your heart, and then either thinking of the intention and holding that in your heart with the stone like held against your heart, or it's going to be speaking aloud and still holding that intention and holding that stone over your heart. If you're doing breath, the concept is going to be very similar. Whatever that intention is, you may either speak it into the crystal, or you may speak it and then you may actually just breathe on the crystal holding that intention and imagining that intention like entering into the crystal. Sound is another way. Sound can get real fun. So this can be anything from like tuning forks or bells, singing bowls, and it's just going to literally be you play whatever the instrument is that you're going to choose to use. You play that to the stone. So if it has a particular opening, you're going to direct that opening toward the stone as best as you can. And then play the instrument, right? For Reiki, it's really similar. You're going to go ahead and connect with the Reiki energy, and then you would, much like you were giving Reiki to a person, you would go ahead and do that to the crystal that you're working with. It can be, in terms of what it's going to look like or feel like, that's going to be different for a number of reasons, right? So the way it's going to feel is going to change possibly depending upon the crystal and what you're trying to work with it for, and also like you, right? And it's also going to change depending upon what activation process you're using, will kind of sometimes change how it feels when you're doing it. But a lot of the time it's going to be something where either it can be anything from like pulsations that you'll experience, or it may get warmer. You may start to feel some sort of kind of like pressure resistance. If you have like your hands toward it or whatever, like you may feel like you're pressing on something when you're not touching the crystal. And all these things are going to change, and different crystals will respond in different ways. And so one of the reasons this person was asking this question, though, was because, they had tried to they had gone through a process of activating a crystal and didn't have the experience that they normally have with activating a crystal, which is totally fine. It's not uncommon at all. And in that case, one of the things that I would suggest is to make sure that you are regularly like cleansing the crystal and letting it recharge, because sometimes it's just depleted, right? Like just like any other being, sometimes it's depleted. And then also to sometimes the way we want to work with the crystal is not the way the crystal wants to work with us, or it's something where we've been working with a crystal a certain way and we've reached a point where technically we can achieve whatever it is on our own and no longer need the crystal. And so sometimes the crystals will just like stop. You're just like, you got this, like, why do you just no go? And so when that happens, sometimes you won't feel it anymore. Like, it doesn't feel like it's activating. For me, I know that's normally when crystals, like, they just go missing. They'll just disappear. I have no idea where they went. And then they'll show back up later. But it's a normal experience. If you talk to most people who work with crystals, all the ones I know, like, we all have plenty of stories of like the crystal disappeared, or like, I swear I put it in my bag, or you thought you lost it when you were out and then not home, and then it appears back at the house. It appears in coats, whatever. So it kind of depends on what you're needing, how you're trying to work with it, whether it wants to work that way with you or not. And I am a firm believer of when we're working with things like crystals or any of like the instruments or anything that we're working with for the energetic qualities that they may lend, I consider them allies, and that's how I work with them. So they're an energetic being, right? Just like I'm an energetic being. And so I don't look at it from a standpoint of like using crystals and just trying to like, oh, I get to do whatever I want to do. Like, there's an energetic response that's going to happen. And if there wasn't, like, why would I be looking to work with it for the energetic properties? So learning to kind of treat it more as a dynamic in a relationship where there's like communication and feedback, rather than just trying to assert your will and dominance, basically, and just make it work the way you want it to work, will really help you when it comes to working with crystals and beginning to be a bit more sensitive to the feedback that is being provided. And you'll learn to understand how to work with which crystal when and for what purposes. And I also like to tell people to kind of think of, if you think of the crystals like you think of your friends, right? Not all of your friends are friends for every occasion. You may have that friend who's like, oh, this is my movie going buddy, right? And because that's what you guys always do together. Or this is the friend that's like my drinking buddy. So thinking of it like that and learning to understand like which crystal is working with you best for what purpose and what reason really goes a long way. Thank you for your time and attention. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show. If someone came to mind while you were listening to this episode, please take a moment to share it with them. If you're interested in joining a community and diving further into these topics, please visit theessenceofexpression.com/community and request to join our community group. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night or day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.